Very exciting. Look at this. It's Thursday. We're live. tagoftheandroids.com/live. You can join us, watch us there if you'd like. I'm going to talk about some Android stuff and watch as Eric's immune disease slowly kills him. Very exciting tonight on AotA. It's number 160. Try and at least survive until the end, if you could, Eric. That would be
the plan.
Very
the
good.
end and then death.
The
We're
end.
not bright.
And then death. A most honorable death.
For centuries, we've been warned about the little green men. Now, they're coming. They're coming for you. Prepare for the attack of the android.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Thursday, June 25th, 2015. This is episode 160, Attack of the Androids. Every week, Thursday evening. Still, attackoftheandroids.com. Check it out. Matt Lee, that's Eric. F, what's up, Eric? F?
Not much, Matt. I'm praying to all the gods for a swift and honorable death after the show. Thank you.
You look like death is halfway there, so I hope your makeup crew is on its way. And to listeners and the watchers of this, I apologize for Eric's hideous display of his self here. Also joining us, Joey Kelly, back from a hiatus. What's up, Joey?
Hello. You know, every time you introduce him as Eric F., I want to play that Axel F. by Crazy Frog.
Don't know what you're talking about there.
No.
What is that?
Also shaking his head, Nick Carroll, not knowing what Joey was referencing there. Nick, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going? I think that's the Beverly Hills theme song, or what's known as that, but I don't know for sure. Sounds familiar.
It is, exactly.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
From
but
out of nowhere.
I'm sort of in a similar predicament as Eric. I'm just getting over a cold. That's why my voice is a little more froggy than normal, but glad to be back.
Awesome. Let's see, kind of all sorts of, just because we've got a couple weeks to catch up on, but really not a whole lot. Summertime swing in full effect, upgrade cycles, all that stuff. Some Android Auto stuff, the Kenwood receivers that we're all very excited to put in our cars are starting to ship, which is cool. And, for those of you on the other side of the fence, the Apple CarPlay as well, if you're, into that sort of thing.
Yeah, a lot of these head units that are coming out, they're actually dual platform. They'll do Android and iOS just so that there's maximum compatibility. Why sell a device that can only do one or the other, or come out with a brand new car with only one or the other? So, I'm personally more interested in the Pioneer units that just came out, but the Kenwood ones look pretty good too, and they might actually be better. I haven't completely looked at them yet.
And these are the expensive, $1,000 ones?
I know the ones with Pioneer, they were of the order of 600, 800, and 1,000, something like that, or no, 500? I can't remember, but there were 3 models. And
they're, the DDX 972S is 900, and then the other ones are 950 and 1,200, which I feel like, along with having rims and tires that cost more than the car, one should also have a good head unit that also costs more than the car. So
yeah.
I tend to agree. I mean, I spent $1,750 on my last SUV. I feel compelled to put a $600 smartphone in it, Bluetooth to a $1,200 head unit.
I mean, at least I believe the law of class states that it needs to be at least twice what one's mortgage payment would be for a month.
Right.
If you run those numbers. Yeah. You run those numbers, spit out the equation there, and that'll tell you where on the class scale you are as far as your vehicle stitch. So,
which is exactly why my classy SUV has air horns on the roof. So there you go.
Ooh, was that a search specific option? You were like, it needs to be Amazon Prime and come with horns on the roof.
Actually, I had to add the horns afterwards. They're on the luggage rack with wire ties, and they don't work.
Custom, I like it. Joey's custom wire wrapping there.
Yeah. Next, it'll be spinners.
Ooh, I like that. So yeah, these were the ones that they showed off at CES this last go around, if you remember.
I mean,
Or we're paying it.
while we're ragging on it, in all seriousness, though, this makes an awful lot of sense to have a built-in Android-powered app updatable head unit. Because the one thing that I have heard consistently over the decades that I have been intermittently following car audio, I don't constantly follow it, but I pop in and out, and the comment is always the newest, latest, greatest $500, $600, $1,000 head unit, and it only does like two things that the last one didn't do.
Yeah.
So if you could just app that, why not?
Well, I mean, why have our stereos had to be so stupid? Why couldn't they be more intelligent? Yeah.
What was the option beforehand? I had a friend that built like an actual little mini ATX computer that ran Linux with it was XMPP something, one of the whatever the media player was, and that was pretty much the MP3 player that was built in the car. Like, it wasn't very ideal, but it worked,
I was forever taking a laptop, putting it in the passenger seat, and plugging it into an adapter to put it into the tape deck.
Yeah.
For those of you that are under the age of 20, there were these things called cassette tapes.
Yeah,
you go from that deck straight into the headphone jack of the laptop.
Yeah, one of the things I did with my Camaro was, I had the Nexus 7 modification that I did. So I had a Nexus 7 basically just underneath my car stereo, and it was synced with Bluetooth. So whenever I put it in the little mount, essentially, for the Nexus 7, it would basically synchronize with the Bluetooth stereo. All I got to do is launch the app, and play. So to me, that's why this kind of head unit is appealing, because it's actually built into the car. You just tie it up with your smartphone, and you can just do everything there.
I mean, this in theory gives you your ability to aftermarket add your Ford Sync type capability. I forget what. GM's got the OnStar thing, but I don't think that that's truly entertainment driven so much. But I believe they've got some sort of phone syncing capability. But in theory, this head unit would give you, or this series of head units would give you that capability. And I know that there's a ton of people out there that have a very strong preference on vehicle brand that don't want to buy a Ford just because it has Ford Sync. They want to buy a Cadillac and have Ford Sync-like functionality.
Yeah.
And you could count me in that boat. The difference is I'm just not willing to fork over $1,200 for a head unit.
Yeah, well, a lot of people also don't want to buy a brand new vehicle to get even a remotely modern, car stereo. And that's why these head units finally coming out allow the rest of us, to get something that we can use.
Personally, I'm looking to buy a Model T. Yeah, I want to go backwards to the days of hand cranking and electrical systems that make more noise than most modern toasters.
When times were simpler, yeah.
Yeah. We used to drive uphill both ways to the gas station with nothing but rags in our tires. Man.
And we liked it.
Yeah, and we were happy. All right, so...
well, on that note...
I was going to say, I guess we've beaten that to death.
Yeah. Did you guys see there's a story that a YouTube user named Josh Max he's done the unthinkable. He's put Linux, or not Linux, well, kind of Linux. He's put Android onto his TI Texas Instruments calculator.
What? Nuh-uh.
Yeah,
this Snake. That's way better than Snake. Could you
even if this is completely untrue, it is completely awesome. Okay? Just the idea that you could do this. I mean, I went all through high school once I got a graphing calculator, and I had a graphical user interface on my TI-83 Plus. Okay, and I was the only one to have that, and no one else cared. But oh well.
I have fond memories of playing Dope Wars on a TI-82. Turn by turn, bud.
I was more of a sub-hunter.
And of course Snake. I wonder now, on that 1.6, Android 1.6, could you play the Snake game?
I think that was the only game on Android 1.6.
Ooh.
I remember right. This is kind of what the story is and what I thought it was going to be are different, because I was expecting like the TI-83 Plus or something like that. But this is the TI Nspire CX. Like, what the hell is that?
That's past my my school days.
Oh yeah, I think it's
Came
well
out,
past both of ours.
and I got to play with the 92, and that thing was a beast. It looked like a Game Gear, 2 hands.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But
That
yeah.
was becoming the calculator. I think like the next year after I got out of high school.
This calculator basically looks like a phone, so you know.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And I'm sure that it was one of those things where he found the oldest version or the newest version of Android that he could fit in either a certain architecture, amount of RAM, storage space, something like that. But I mean,
they're all limited on that.
Oh, right.
On
Yeah.
that platform.
Oh, yeah. I memean, from a practical standpoint, this has no practical use whatsoever.
No, but it's bragging rights. It's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm that kid that did that one thing that one time.
And I love the comments down at the bottom of the article on it. It was like, but does it run the calculator app?
Ooh, right?
Ooh. And then somebody else
Calculator app within an emulator within a calculator app.
and then someone else suggested that they run the Android HP calculator emulator. And I'm going, no.
This could get quite convoluted real quick.
Yeah.
And we're there.
I think this kid made the ultimate cheating machine because, you know, he's already made Wi-Fi work with it via a dongle. So if he hides the dongle in his hand and then hotspots to his phone, he can Google any answers he wants on his calculator.
Yeah, but you're forgetting with the processing power of the calculator, it'll come out like a teletype from World War
No,
II.
the Aspire is actually a dual-core 2 gigs of RAM. It's a beast.
What?
No, I'm kidding. I have no idea.
Oh,
It has
100 meg of storage, 64 megs of RAM.
It's Commodore.
It's just a web browser, folks.
That's all it needs. Links, even. You could go links text-based and be done. Boom. Problem solved. SSH to a screen and do it. July 27th, and this isn't just a normal release. Remember, this is coming to you in virtual reality and also maybe real reality, depending on where you live. But the OnePlus 2, which, if my math is correct, that's 3, is going to be unveiled on the 27th. So, Eric, as a OnePlus 1, I'm confused now. What do you own, Eric?
AotA, right? In something?
No, I used to.
Is that different?
I think so. Yeah, I have the Moto X right
Virtually. Oh, that's cute. Are you going to be virtually attending this with your Moto X?
now. Negative.
Hmm.
I heard it's supposed to be the OnePlus One was supposed to be a good phone. Everybody that I know that's had it has liked it, and I've known maybe 3 or 4 people. And I don't know, like they're doing interesting things. The fact that they're talking about that they'll have USB Type-C for charging is interesting. You know, it's sort of like the next thing on the horizon for Android phones. I don't know, like I'm kind of hoping that there's not going to be this like stupid invite system again.
Yeah, that's the big thing that really crippled it the last time. I know they had to, get into business somehow, but they made so many PR mistakes, for their phones. They could have sold them a little bit more expensive, sold a lot more of them, and probably came out better in the long run. So I am also worried this will be limited by an invite system, and there will be all sorts of crazy, stupid, hoops you need to jump through to get it, So yeah.
So is this gimmick? They're like, we're going to announce this in a virtual reality environment, and if you choose to stream the event, then you can, in air quotes, stand next to our team and our fans and probably our booth babes virtually, right? And we'll show you our new shit.
Yeah. So this will be as close as you'll get to this phone for 6 months because it's invite only.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. For 6 months, if ever.
Yeah, I think that when we talked about this before, that they were doing that. They did the invite system because it allowed them to like slowly ramp up production. They didn't have to have so many upfront costs. I don't know. I think they can do better. I like the idea of virtual booth babes, though. Like
Yeah.
you've sold me on attending this, Matt.
Right, and then it
Yeah.
comes with like a 3-month free trial to whatever that campsite happens to be, and there you go. Everyone makes money, right?
Well,
Say
I mean,
hello to Tiffany.
well, I mean, one of the many downsides of the invite system is it took them like nearly a year to get off of it. You know, now here's the OnePlus 2 coming out, and now anyone can just buy the OnePlus 1. So I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll remind everyone that 1 plus 1 is 2 and 1 plus 3 is 4, so, you know.
Well, quick question on, and more of an opinion, go around the horn type thing. Virtual reality, in my opinion, has not really hit, and it might not hit.
That's because you don't have an Oculus, and you haven't seen what the gyroptic can do, or what the 360 Heroes can do, or what the Google one, whatever they're making that you fill with cameras, and it gives you the full what that can do. Those paired with the Oculus as a way to experience that environment is very cool. I've seen it a couple times just to play around with, and it is, after a minute, like, you forget you're kind of standing there, and I can imagine once a actual version is released, it'll be much better as far as latency and everything. So, yeah, I don't know, man.
Well, the concern, though, that I have is bandwidth. I mean, how are you going to beam, if you will, enough information to make a virtual reality experience actually work? I mean,
locally,
you know,
preferably.
But I don't want to have a virtual walkthrough of my own house.
Yeah,
That
well, it's going to
doesn't-
be it's going to be a similar experience to 4K. I mean, who really is going to have the bandwidth of 4K video?
Torrents.
Yeah, but I mean, even that, you know, the type of technology you need to run really good VR is, you know, like $1,000, $1,200 PC, you know, and that's if one of us builds it. If the average person wants to buy a PC that'll run the Oculus Rift at all of the, you know, optimal settings, then you're looking at probably something $2,000 for an average consumer to just pick up at a store.
You're looking at an extreme, and this, by the way, goes back into my little comment several dozen shows back now about how we are not entering a post-PC era because the technologies that we're going to be asking our electronics to do are always going to exceed what you can affordably compress into a small package.
Yeah.
That's why desktops, or a not necessarily a desktop, but a larger non-portable form factor, whatever that ends up looking like, will always have at least some use, be it for storage, be it for, in this case, a virtual reality processing unit, anything along that. We're still going to have that use. And I know that, for instance, in several of the sci-fi novels that I've read over the years, they talk about having a house array. And I go, geez, what's a house array? What's that look like? Well, what it ends up being is a house management system combined with a centralized point for security and automation, and also things like, you know, their access to the internet and whatnot, all in one place. So it's basically like their centralized home server. And maybe what we're going to be headed towards is this idea of having mobile devices, laptops, smaller devices, and virtual reality devices that all interface with our quote-unquote house server, and that's where all of the heavy-duty work is actually done.
Well, that's sort of where the Internet of Things industry is coming from. All these sort of unique items are going to be all tied together with internet access. They're all synchronized and stuff like that. You know, VR could potentially go somewhere, and you know, it's coming. Like the Oculus is coming out Q1 of 2016, and but that'll just be essentially a first-gen product. Even though there's been a couple developer kits, a couple of developer versions, and other companies like HTC and Valve are coming out with their own sort of VR options, and Samsung and Sony and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's still super young in terms of an industry regarding VR, and we're just gonna have to see it develop. You know, smartphones developed really quickly over the last 5 or 6 years. We may see something similar with virtual reality, and we'll see, you know, companies like Oculus and HTC, maybe they'll be the ones to lead the way here. So.
Well, and
I
that's the
still
thing. It's wicked news still, and you didn't see even streaming to our mobile devices for quite a while after we had mobile devices. So
Yeah.
that's why I mentioned it was just going to be local, at least for now. And then once, Facebook can figure out how to get Farmville in there streaming it for 8K, whatever,
Yeah.
then
I still think we're going to have a fundamental shift in either the cost that people are willing to pay for bandwidth or a radical change in the the price that is charged for bandwidth in this country before we see stuff like this happen.
Yeah.
I mean, we're seeing. Again, every different part of the country is different. I'm in New England. We do tend to be bandwidth poor up here because pretty much everything is going out through either upstate New York or through Boston. And you have a choke point, basically. And because of that, we have limited bandwidth. I still have a lot of my customers have sub 10 megabit per second connections. And most of my business customers rarely exceed 25 megabits per second.
Well, I think what we'll see is a lot of relatively lower, like more crude apps that don't require a lot of processing power, do not require a lot of network bandwidth, and I think we're going to have to get used to this quote-unquote cardboard experience where you have like a smartphone and like a $20 thing that you use with your smartphone, and then you get virtual reality that way, or Oculus Rift and a handful of PC games tuned for it, where the bulk of the stuff is loaded by disk or downloaded onto the game, and you're just dealing with network bandwidth related to like video game, like multiplayer, that kind of thing. But I doubt we're going to be dealing with 4K video and all that kind of stuff too much in tandem with virtual reality. So.
yeah. Did you guys see this FLIR thermal camera? The one, it's been out for iOS for a while. Me and Ant got to mess around with it at CES a couple times, and it's really cool. It's kind of expensive, $250, but basically it plugs right into your USB, and it gives your phone thermal infrared. Joey, mute your mic.
That looks pretty cool. Go for
What
it.
I was going to say was, not only does it look pretty cool, but this, even at $249.95, this is probably got to be a quarter the price of a dedicated camera, because I can't imagine those goes for less than $1,000 a whack. And at $249 a month, a unit, you could conceivably put 3 or 4 of these on every. Granted, the phone wouldn't survive it, but if you could harden the phone in some way, you could put 3 or 4 of these on every fire truck in the United States for $249 and be able to find people in buildings. I'm not even joking. That could be done as long as the price is right and they could harden the phone.
As long as they were streaming to a Galaxy Note, otherwise the screen would be too small.
Well, okay, fine. So you need to harden the Galaxy Note, but but in all seriousness, there are people that do energy audits for people's homes. They go around, they find where air is leaking through and where there are cold spots and hot spots in their insulation.
Hot grow is, yeah.
Yeah, and in all seriousness, that is exactly what they need, and they usually spend anywhere between $500 and $2,500 on a dedicated thermal camera to do that, and they're not in generally a high-risk, high-heat environment, so you don't even have to harden anything.
We should sell them one for $500, and then we'll get one for free. Simple economics, folks.
Works for me.
Their website. Oh, I'm sorry, go on.
Eric, do you want one of these?
Can't think of a reason why I need it.
To see an infrared, dude. You don't think there was any reason that the Terminator needed it, but they gave him infrared vision anyway?
You'd be like a superhero.
Look at it. You could tell women how hot you are.
It's like Hercules over here trying to give people fire, and he's like, well, I don't see why we need that. Because it's cool. Well, it's not cool. It's fire. But you get what I'm saying.
No, I'm not criticizing it. I just, you asked me if I would.
You were. I think you were criticizing it. By your lack of wanting it, you criticized it.
Hater.
I think does this thing have I'm reading through the comments and I'm guessing no, but does this thing have a swivel on the connector?
No,
Doesn't look like it.
Eric. Look at it. Look at the picture. Let me screen share the picture again so you can see.
Yeah, it doesn't really look like it. I also wonder about compatibility because they're showing it with the Galaxy S6, but I mean, I wonder if you can use it with any phone. You know, what kind of app you need. I guess you'll download a custom app. But their website is pretty funny. It's got a bunch of cartoons and graphics and stuff like that. And
I look at this and say it's a neat concept, but I don't know. I mean, they haven't thought about things like that. I don't know that this makes sense to get when like I just googled thermal camera and the same company FLIR, they have a standalone one for $349. So for $100 extra, I don't have this like janky BS hooked up to my phone. I don't have to screw around with that. I can just hold up the thing and look, and that seems to make more sense to me than something like this.
I think the advantage to this would be that you could theoretically have an app and it's tied directly to your phone. You have a cellular connection, so you could theoretically stream this, or maybe the app itself does something. Maybe it's better to update it. Like how would you update the standalone unit over time with firmware and other features and stuff like that. But one criticism I see leveled against it, at least in one of the comments down below, is some phones, their USB port is the other direction. So yeah, it may not be facing the right way based on what phone you have. So that would bring up, I guess, Eric's point in a sense that it'd be nice if it could swivel.
Well, I haven't used it. Matt, you said it was cool to play with when you were messing with it.
I mean, just as far as, the 10 minutes we got to mess around with it. And honestly, I probably, if I had it, I mean, yeah, like 10 minutes, oh, that's cool. Done.
Yeah, but if this is what you need for work, then, yeah, maybe it's for you. It's definitely neat, though, to see all these things. Like, this is something that in the past I would have expected to only be on iOS because manufacturers would only make accessories for iOS.
I think that's got to change. I mean, obviously it's starting, but I mean, Android has proven to be it's proven to be, if I might use the analogy, the Windows of the smartphone world. It's the default. It's what 90% of the people have, and if you aren't going to cater to that market, you're basically saying, I'm only going to have 10% of my market base. What happens when the competitor to FLIR comes out with an iOS-only device, but FLIR comes out with this Android-based one? You just created an incredible shift in your market. And that isn't to say that one is right or wrong, but the upshot of the variety of phones that are out there for Android is that means that the Android platform becomes the de facto standard.
Indeed. Okay, well, let's switch gears a little bit because this is exciting news, especially for somebody who used to be on Sprint. Sprint has announced that they're going to stop throttling their customers' unlimited plans, even when they're data hogs, when they're little piggies.
I love that. They're like, we just want to make this announcement. We decide to stop being dicks. Now, we recall a year ago when we weren't dicks. We went ahead, we made the transition into becoming dicks. We were dicks for a while, and well, now we actually got told by the FCC that we're no longer allowed to be dicks. So
well, and they weren't really told by the FCC, and they said that according to them, they're following the new FCC rules, but it comes just on the heels of the FCC issuing AT&T a $100 million fine for some of their shitty practices when it comes to throttling their unlimited customers.
Yeah, we might see the same thing happen to Verizon. I haven't been following all the news on that end of the things, but where what applies to AT&T could almost certainly be applied to Verizon too.
And of course, that money will be thus then redistributed to all of the people it was stolen from, right?
Yep, exactly.
Bloody likely.
We're all getting checks. No,
the public good.
No checks.
I'm sure the government will get right on that.
Just issue some checks. As soon as you patch all those security holes that you keep leaking our data through, go ahead and issue some checks. That would be fantastic.
Well, I'm pretty sure that if if Sprint didn't do this and they got fined, they'd be out of business. I don't think that they have a lot of like, just cash lying around. This is why they were bought by SoftBank, and SoftBank is still trying to get them to a place, I think, where they're competitive with Verizon and AT&T, or even T-Mobile at this point.
I got to dispute that slightly, Eric. Most corporations of that size have a corporate insurance policy, and that corporate insurance policy oftentimes includes a rider for any kind of fines that may be incurred. So if they have that, then this is indirectly passed on to them because the fine would be paid by the insurance company, but then their insurance rates would go up. Yeah. Or the insurance company would require them to review their practices and whatnot. And
they'll still feel it. They'll still feel it. Sprint would. Plus the rates would go up quite a bit.
If you would like to check on that insurance policy, it's up here through the 14th floor window. So enjoy that on the way down.
Would you insure Sprint?
No, I wouldn't insure.
Depends on the rate.
Well. Like life insurance, like I get paid when it dies type of thing, or what?
More like I'm going to charge you 1% of your monthly revenue, and I will pay any fines that you may be owed. Well, that 1%, you figure 1% of your gross revenue for 11 months out of the year, that's got to be several million at least. And if I'm gaining several million a year and I have to pay out 100 million once, I'm going to look at that. And
it's all like store shop windows and baseball bats. I mean, it would be a shame if this nice window here were to get broken out. So you could pay us every month, and maybe they won't.
Things break. I mean, Colonel, tanks fall apart. Your troops get lost. I mean,
windows are made out of glass. Glass is.
You've got a nice army base here, Colonel, but it'd be a shame if people started going missing,
Eric, did somebody buy your Ouya? Did I read that correctly? I know this is kind of older news, but did somebody actually buy your Ouya? Did you have it up on Craigslist, or what happened?
Yeah, I mean, not my Ouya, though I can see where you would have gotten confused.
Oh.
Somebody bought everybody's Ouya.
All the Ouya.
All the Ouyas. And it was Razer.
Huh. Didn't we kind of mention that a while ago, and that they should do that? Or I don't remember.
They were somebody needed to. There was a story some shows back where Ouya was sort of fishing around for somebody to buy them, and
it was the only one that returned their phone call.
I gotta think that there were probably a lot of lowball offers. Because you're still buying a brand that people know the name of. It's still worth something. It's just not worth a lot, in my opinion.
Describe the first three feelings that your feelers feel when you hear the word Ouya, Eric.
Sort of an achy feeling.
Ooh.
In this area.
My heart, my achy, breaky heart.
You know that the only reason why they bought this was some executive grew up in the '80s and wanted to be able to walk into a boardroom meeting wearing the suit from the that Punch guy.
3 seconds on the clock. 3.
The what's his face? Not Hawaiian Punch, but
no. Thanks for playing though.
Oh, come on, help me out.
It's harder to come up with those things when people are counting down seconds.
Yes, I've noticed that. What the heck was that thing? It wasn't Hawaiian Punch. It was
the Kool-Aid.
It was Kool-Aid, goddammit.
Kool-Aid guy. So he just wanted to walk in and go, "Oh yeah," at a boardroom meeting and walk out. That was all he wanted to do. That's why they bought the thing.
That's Ouya. That's not Kool-Aid. Different companies. But I appreciate the busting through boardroom walls.
Well, I mean, Ouya doesn't have a completely tarnished name yet. I mean, it's kind of symbolized with a console that failed to take off. But Razer may get whatever patents they can from it, or just try to build a better Ouya, or maybe have their own ecosystem of software they can push on their own products. But we were told a couple years ago that Ouya would have a a sequel a year later, more powerful hardware, and that still hasn't occurred. So maybe Razer will make that happen.
Ooh, Eric, if you could build a better Ouya, what would you put in it?
Games.
Ooh, yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. Games.
Ooh.
That's
See,
nice.
I think that the Ouya got killed by the Amazon Fire TV.
The
I
Ouya
think the
was
Ouya got
dead.
killed by the fact that it was a shitty device.
Yeah.
Like it
Well,
just,
there's
I-
that.
it was half baked.
Long
Like
before.
yeah, it was a neat idea, and I totally love the idea of like sort of the modular, moddable, Android gaming device as long as it's cheap. But when you're charging people $50 for like really really crappy like controllers, granted they could go out and they could get an Xbox 360 controller and pair it up, but you're still putting your name behind something that's of really shoddy quality. I think that what Razer could do, and what they're trying to compete with NVIDIA. They've just put the Razer Forge TV into the Google Store.
Yeah.
I think that they could take the next thing in the pipeline. They could slap the Ouya's name on it, the Razer Ouya or whatever, and try to ride that wave as far as it takes them, and create an ecosystem the same way that NVIDIA has.
Yeah. I think
I
that's the
doubt
way
that
they
they'll
can do
be
it.
successful.
Yeah. I mean, I'm optimistic, but I was optimistic last time, so I'm a little bit less optimistic this time.
Optimistic, but hurt.
Yeah, and I just got the NVIDIA Shield console or TV or whatever the hell it is.
Do you love
like
it?
a few days ago. It's very good. I'm still on the fence of is it really a better experience than just getting a Roku for part of the cost?
Ooh, I don't know. You better send it to me so we can have a discussion about it.
It's a great
Honestly,
idea, Mattley.
Right now, and I've been looking at this, skip the Roku, not even kidding, get an Amazon Fire streaming stick if you want the low end, or get an Amazon Fire TV if you want a better machine. And they are better than the Roku, and they are the same money.
Neither
I
of
don't-
which are the NVIDIA Shield console, though, which... It's Shield.
The HDMI sticks are nice, but if you're doing any streaming like from Plex, they tend to choke on that sort of thing. And even if you're not streaming from Plex, if you're doing a lot of streaming, like I have the Fire Stick in my office, and if I'm working on something, I might stream some music or watch Netflix, and it is not like it chokes up sometimes. And the Roku I can't think of the Roku doing that. I think the Roku has a tighter experience, though the Amazon Fire ecosystem is very closely behind it. But I still think, like, if I had to recommend for somebody if they wanted like a thing for movies and streaming Netflix and they wanted a separate thing, a Roku 3. I think that is still the gold standard, though this NVIDIA device is very, very close. It's a really nice experience.
Better than a Chromecast.
Yes, and it has the whatever you call it, the castability built in too.
Ooh, I like that. Now, what can I expect to spend on one of these things here?
I think it's $199 for the 16 gigabyte version, and it's $299 for the Pro, which is 500 gigs.
I could buy 3 GameCubes and a Wii from the pawn shop for that price, but hey.
You
Well,
could.
heck, for the low-end one, you could buy yourself a nice Chromebook, which I happen to know will with an HDMI port, which does an awful lot of streaming.
Yep,
Yeah.
already doing that.
Yeah, and,
Yeah, but the
and you can take it away from the
experience is-
TV and do something with it, unlike it being a paperweight.
Yeah, that's not. I think that's a false comparison, though.
There's
Like,
something to be said about having just the Chromecast plugged in all the time and not having to F with it and being able to cast from your Chromebook or your phone or whatever.
and I've
Yeah, but
installed
it
some
sounds-
games like Doom 3. You can get Doom 3 for this. You can get some other things. That experience is very nice.
Better
It
than
comes
the
with the
Ouya?
game controller. Oh hell yeah, way better than the Ouya, and it's smooth. I was chatting with Shane Brady about this because he was like, he thought it was so cool, like he's playing the original Doom on his TV. I'm just like, I'm playing Doom 3 is not a new game, but it's way more modern than the original Doom, and it looks great. It's really smooth. You can stream. Like, I'm gonna be hooking it up. I just got my 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi set up, so I'm gonna be streaming PC games from my desktop into the living room and playing it on the NVIDIA Shield. It's a solid device. If you're not going to do all this stuff with it, still just get a Roku 3 if all you want is Netflix. But if you want to like play games, if you want something that is a little bit beefier as far as like processing power, it's a really nice device. And it looks great too. It doesn't look like a, stupid piece of junk sitting on your, TV stand.
Like a Ouya or a Q even. Whoa.
Hey, you just stop that. Hurtful words hurt.
Okay, bud. It's okay. Let's see. Oh, did you notice the clock app has changed?
What?
Yeah. I think more of the, some of you are never going to see material design in Lollipop, so we're just going to update all the apps so that it's pretty much the same thing. I mean,
Yeah, I use the clock app like religiously because it's my alarm clock and everything else for me here. So the main advantage to it now is it's available to everyone. You can just go to the Google Play Store and download it. So even if you don't have it on your phone, maybe it's not a Nexus or something like that, you can get this clock, the latest version, from the Play Store.
It's called Clock. And it tells you the time, among other things.
I think it's just another example of Google splitting off their stuff, because there's an AOSP clock. So now there's an AOSP clock and a separate, distinct Google clock. So the not that you really need a lot of features for the AOSP clock, but I don't think they're going to be putting any, if much effort at all into the AOSP version. They're just going to start focusing on this.
Yeah, we'll probably see more apps do the same thing over time. It's just been a consistent, thing for Google.
It's good. I like it that way better. Better than having to wait and then being really angry about not getting updates because your Moto X has a X8 in it and not any other kind of processor, which is fine. Whatever. Whatever. Inbox, using some natural language stuff to identify things about your life, and then give you helpful, little reminders here and there about it. I noticed that you need to go sign divorce papers at 3:15. You better leave, because you don't want to be late for that. Stuff like that. If it was in an email, it would, do that.
Don't they already... I mean, they've already been doing this in Gmail, haven't they?
Right, for like shipping notifications, things like that.
Yeah.
They started out with, things that were obvious, right? Things that had like stuff that would let you know in the subject line, like your shipping stuff. Obviously, it was like shipping notification. But now it's doing it with things that are just in messages between, like, say, me and you or whatever, which is interesting.
Yeah, I like how it works with Keep, for example, because I think me and Matt at least use Keep quite a bit, and to have that built into it, and you can swap between, Keep and the Inbox app would be cool. I haven't been using Inbox, but this makes it more enticing to me at least. So
I did dip back in, and I don't know. I have my regular Gmail client set up the way I like it, so it's just easier to do that. But I do like it. It's cool. I get the idea. I like what they're doing with it. That's not the way I use my client, and I need it when I swipe to delete stuff. That's all.
I think that I don't know, people have been talking that Inbox is sort of like Gmail 2.0 or 3.0 or whatever, like it's the next iteration of Gmail. I kind of think, after seeing stuff like this, I kind of think it's more the testing ground for them. I cannot imagine them, like, replacing Gmail with Inbox. Like, this is overly complicated, I think, for most people.
I would be furious, Eric. Furious.
So would I.
Simply furious.
So you don't use it anymore. I
No,
don't like. I used it for a little bit. I don't think anybody on the show uses it at primary.
I used it primarily for a while, and then it started kind of being buggy, so I went back to the regular Gmail
Yeah,
client,
for,
and then
for me, yeah, for me, I was using that email client, really, the default Gmail email client, whatever you call it, for both work and personal. So for me, I would just switch between accounts. And for me, I didn't want to necessarily mess with another app when I have one app doing all that. So can Inbox work with other types of email, like Exchange or anything like that?
I'm not sure. If it did, it'd be right in the settings,
Ah, okay.
but I don't
No.
think so right now.
Inbox is only for
For
Gmail at
Google.
this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bro, it barely works with my Gmail, okay?
Yeah, let's throw Microsoft into that mix and just have a complete cluster.
Nah.
Sounds great.
Hell yeah. What else, Eric? Do you want to talk about this lovely Indiegogo phone that is just packed to the gills with...
I noticed we skipped over the link to check on your Fi invite status.
Oh, yeah. You should...
Because
yeah.
I don't have to.
Why?
Because here it is, folks. The Nexus 6 with Google Fi right here in living color. Yes. And I'll tell you what, I don't know why. I ordered the 64 gig. I'm not sure. Well, that's not what I was going to say. Why to? I ordered the 64 gig, and it arrived with a care package. It arrived with a complimentary case in white.
Well, that's cool.
Okay. It arrived with a special set of earbuds with a Y in it so that you can plug in another set of earbuds so that you can play your music really, really, really loud to two people at once.
Whoa.
Notice how this is in the wrapper still, because this is like useless for me.
That's pretty cool, though.
But it arrived with a special Project Fi rechargeable battery pack.
Whoa, that's pretty good. Those are extra value adds, as you might say.
Yes, unfrickin' believable. Included 1 amp and 2.1 amp battery USB ports right there. I forget how long they say this thing's going to last. 6,000 milliamp.
That's pretty dope.
So that's, I think, what, twice over what the phone probably has in it, I'm guessing?
What is it again? You skipped over what it is.
Oh, it's a battery pack. It's an auxiliary battery pack, so that you charge this up before you leave, and then you plug it into the phone when the battery on the phone dies, and you've got another. I think it's only a 2,000 or 3,000 milliamp battery in the phone, so this is twice what the phone has in your hand, and you can charge up. You can charge up anything. It doesn't have to be the phone, but this was all just included. I didn't even ask for it. I didn't even know it was coming. So I am impressed with Google for this. So shout out to the boys.
So how is the service, Joey? Now that we have the so they gave you the care package, which is kind of cool. What is the actual service like? Is Project Fi good enough for prime time?
We don't know yet. I literally got this today. Here's the good news. It uses 2 different cell carriers to switch off between so that you have a better service experience. The 2 carriers are, unfortunately, T-Mobile and Sprint. So we signed with the bottom end of the list. Sorry, folks. That's just the way it is. But here's what I have been using Republic Wireless now for, months, years now. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, over a year. Well over a year.
You went straight from Republic to this.
I haven't yet. I still have my Republic phone. I'm still working with this. I'm in my 2-week little you can send it back if you don't like it thing. So I'm trying to feel it out. But here's what I've noticed so far. Because it's using both T-Mobile and Sprint, I've essentially increased my coverage area by a good 20-25% in this area where I get really good Wi-Fi or really good roaming internet. Second of all, this thing has 4G, and it's enabled, and it uses the LTE when I have it available. versus my Moto G from Republic Wireless, which is limited to 3G, and if you want 4G, you have to pay more through Republic Wireless to get it. This is included. You pay $10 for every gigabit of data that you get. So if I go for a 2 gigabyte plan, I pay $20 a month. If I go for a 1 gigabyte plan, I pay $3.30. There you go. You get a rebate every month on data that you don't use. So say I buy a 3 gigabyte plan for $30 of data, and I use a gig. I end up getting a $20 rebate on my either next service, or they kick you a credit or something. I don't know how that works yet. So the nice part is that you're not going to pay for data you don't use. I have been using about a half a gig every month, give or take, on my Republic Wireless phone. Part of that has been because I have had such a hard time getting coverage in the areas that I go because they just don't have Sprint towers. So my hope is that by adding T-Mobile to this, I'm actually going to be increasing my personal bill from $24.95 a month to $30 a month total, but I'm going to wind up having a better experience out of it.
Yeah,
And
one of the key points about the Google Fi service is it uses the fastest available option. So if T-Mobile becomes your fastest option of the two possible signals you get, it will switch to that.
Right. And the other thing I've noticed is that unlike Republic Wireless, if you're on Republic Wireless and you're making a phone call on Wi-Fi and then you walk out of the Wi-Fi zone or the Wi-Fi gets bad or anything happens, it will switch you to a cell phone tower. But it will never switch you back. If the Wi-Fi comes back on or you walk into another Wi-Fi while you're still on the call, it will never switch you back onto Wi-Fi. It will always keep you on the cell until that call finishes.
Oh, yeah, that's not good.
Which is both good and bad. It has its pluses, it has its minuses. Google Fi, however, and I had it happen to me today. I rolled into the driveway. I was on cell. I walked into the house. It switched to my internal Wi-Fi, and the phone cut over.
Yeah, it's my understanding it'll switch to Wi-Fi by default, but when you lose Wi-Fi, it'll hit the strongest signal that it gets from whichever tower, either T-Mobile or Sprint. So yeah.
So thus far, I'm impressed because right here, the Sprint signal in my home is very poor. The T-Mobile I don't really have a good feel for because the second this thing catches Wi-Fi, it shuts down the cell modem completely, basically. So I don't even have a signal level. I would have to unplug my wireless access points in order to give you an honest answer as to how well the the T-Mobile signal works here. But I'm impressed. The phone is incredibly fast, incredibly nice. Going from, to give you a size comparison.
Yeah, I was going to say the G is not nearly as impressive as the 6 on many levels.
Moto G, Nexus 6.
Yeah.
Do we see a size difference?
Yeah, size, speed, yeah.
Yeah. The camera on this thing, and I realize you don't buy a smartphone for a camera, but I'm on the Smartphone Photographers Google group. The camera on this thing absolutely sucks for anything other than low rent pictures.
Yeah, I think it's like a 5 megapixel shooter, and I don't remember if it even has autofocus.
It has a fixed focus, and that's it. And there's no way to play with it. You can't put an app on it. You can't change it. It is fixed. That's it. So if you try to go one notch past normal photos, forget it. It's useless. This sucker, on the other hand,
phone Shamu now. I never understood that until now.
Sorry, what?
The phone you have, they call it Shamu.
Oh yeah, it's big.
Oh yeah.
And it's white with the black. Yeah.
Yeah.
Question for you: the actual Fi service. Do you have a Project Fi app on there, or like
Yes.
how's this? Is it just a SIM card? Okay. So can you talk a little bit about what that Project Fi app is?
Okay, well, the Project Fi idea is Google basically stepping into the cell phone world as a provider, as opposed to just a provider of hardware. You can buy a Project Fi SIM card, but right now the only phone that the Project Fi works on is the Nexus 6. So you have to have a Nexus 6. You have to be accepted into the beta program, and you can either buy a SIM card or you can buy a phone directly from Google Fi. If you buy it direct, it will come with the Project Fi app. If you buy it, if you already have it, then you have to download the Project Fi app.
And what does that app do? That's my question. Like, do you go into the app at all, or does it just sit there?
It just sits there, essentially.
Like the Chromecast app, right? Maybe when you need some settings or whatever.
Does it run all?
Exactly.
Does it run all the time? Like, is it something like it's in the notification menu, or is
it doesn't show up in the notification window, which is interesting because the Republic Wireless app does, and it gets really annoying after a while because you're getting constant notifications for something that you really don't care that much about usually. Yeah, I mean the Project Fi app, it gives you your data plan usage for the month, your cycle. It gives you the ability to change your plan, your ability to change your payment method. Let's see. I mean, there's other different things you can change. You can check your statement, including taxes, what that's going to look like, and there's a support link where you can send either an email or make a phone call, and the phone call actually doesn't work. It sends you into their FAQ at the moment. I actually called them today and told them that didn't work. So hopefully they'll get that fixed. But yeah, it's a management type of app. It doesn't actually seem to interact with the phone on a conscious level, if you will. It must be working with it behind the scenes and transparently in the background. Yeah. So by the way, I apologize if I misrepresented the cost a little bit earlier. The base plan for Fi is $20 a month, unlimited calls, unlimited texts, and I think it's unlimited international texting too, which I don't need, but I guess if you have a lot of friends in other countries, it might be useful. And then on top of that, you get to pick how much data you want. $10 a gigabyte after that. So I'm on a 1 gig plan. My total bill is going to be $30 plus taxes and fees.
Wow. What exactly do you do with that gig? I mean, I would imagine you spend it all in one place, but probably a couple?
In all honesty, I have been running about a half a gig because I spend so much time per month, that is. I spend so much time in my home office surrounded by Wi-Fi or at customers' locations surrounded by Wi-Fi. So I really have had a hard time justifying going with, like, for instance, a Verizon or a U.S. Cellular, which are the two best carriers up here. You generally are going to pay about $40 a month base, and you're generally going to pay around $20 to $30 a month for data, and generally the smallest chunk you're going to get is a 2 gig, and I would only use a quarter of that.
Yeah,
so with Fi, you actually get a rebate for how much you don't use. So if I'm buying a 1 gig plan, but I only use a half a gig, I get $5 back.
Yeah, you're really only going to cut into it if you do a lot of video or multimedia streaming, you know, or even just music streaming. So if you just use a bunch of text-based apps, check your email, maybe text people, Hangouts, you know, text, yeah.
So one quick comment before we wrap up. Ever since we heard about this, I've been very curious as to whether or not Project Fi will work with my Moto X, given that it's just the shrunken version of the Nexus 6. I just went to the Google Play site and clicked on the whole install for the Project Fi app, and it says that my Moto X is compatible for the Project Fi app, so they're not locking it out. I'm very curious. I need to get one of these SIM cards and pop it in and see if it actually works.
Yeah,
I'm on the waiting list. At the moment,
it is. I was gonna say it is invite only. You have to be approved. And to be honest, I only signed up for this. It wasn't really all that long ago. I could not have been the first one in the gate, so to speak. But what the heck is so funny, Matt? He's literally falling out of his chair.
I can't even. Sorry.
What did I say?
Chair's very squeaky.
Anyway.
All right, Eric, we have to wrap this up. I'm sorry. What is your final thoughts on this?
Yes. Thank you, Matt. I think that spoke louder than words. Thanks.
That's it. That's awesome. Do we
For
have an email?
those of you that would like to send Matt a can of WD-40, his address is at the end of the show.
Absolutely. Eric, email address.
Yes. Matt, our email address is show@attackoftheandroids.com.
I like it. I like it a lot. All right, attackoftheandroids.com. We're on Stitcher, iTunes, Google+, Facebook, Twitter, and all that. So thanks for listening. Have a great evening.
Bye.